is the Big Friendly Swim Podcast. I'm the Big Friendly host, and today's guest is heading into his junior year now at Indiana University, spent 2 years at Arizona State. Owen McDonald, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for this opportunity. My first one, actually. It's fun.
I remember my first interview was with Tom Shields way back in like December 2020. And like watching it back now, like my voice sounds so shaky in it, and like I'm like stumbling over my words. But like it's looking back now, it was way less scary than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when you start to do stuff more often, how much more
Yeah,
confident you are about it. Just like everything in life, I guess.
yeah. So tell me about what brought you to ASU originally, and like what was the decision that brought you onto the team?
So, there were a lot of decisions, obviously. Um, a big one that I think everyone knows, Bob Bowman has that magical factor that, wants to get everyone to move to Tempe and continue their swim career. So obviously Coach Bob was a huge part of me wanting to go to Arizona. I also really clicked with every single one of the guys on the team. I mean, it was probably like we were all like a family. It was really awesome. The weather was amazing. I wanted to train outside, give that a shot. And I mean, it's just a beautiful place. It really is.
So ASU obviously has had a pretty storied history on like the national college scene, with the program being cut 15 or like 15, 16 years ago to now winning an NCAA title. Talk to me about the atmosphere amongst the Sun Devils when you realized you'd won the team title, like when mathematically you guys realized like we've done enough that we win, and then when you officially got to celebrate.
Well, it was awesome. First off, I mean, we had a lot of alumni come in, and their support was awesome. They told us actually about the team being cut and stuff, and I honestly didn't believe it. I knew we weren't the greatest for a while there, but I didn't realize. I mean, no offense, we were towards the bottom, like you said. We were going to get cut, and then we had big names like Grant House come in, Cody Bybee, Patrick Park, all these guys, and then we started to get the really big ones like I mean Leon Marchand, um, David Schlitt was a huge part. There's a lot of guys that helped us kind of get the recruits that we needed to come in and all the train together and all the pros. That is one thing I want to touch on the competition at ASU. I would say it was probably the greatest training group in the world at the time, and it was awesome to be a part of that. And I mean, I probably got cooked every single day by a handful of guys, and I mean, hopefully, I put a whooping on a few as well. But it was awesome. But anyway, as we went into NCs, we had a lot of talks with some of our alumni. Again, I'm going to mention the name Patrick Park. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a great dude, and he gave a really good speech. Um, but the main part of the speech was brick by brick. And again, that's kind of goes back to the Grant House and him. Everyone has laid their brick to build the house that we've created. Um, and so we were kind of approaching the final brick, you can say. Obviously, ASU is still to grow more, and it's going to be a great program. But the final big brick would be to win that NCAA championship. And we all went in kind of with the mentality of we got it this year. We have to. We know what we have to do. We've been training the entire year for it. So as the mentality into the meet approach, we had a lot of guys that were really dialed in. You could tell there was some nerves too. Like it's obviously nervous for the freshmen coming in for their first time. I remember I was extremely nervous my first time going to NCs. I actually my first 200 IM at the first NCs. I didn't even. I was DFL. I think I was the last place. I added like 2 seconds or something. I got all in my head. I was super nervous. So I kind of used that experience. Well, I bounced back. The next day I came in after a talk with Bob and a few of my other teammates, kind of just like, calm down. You got this. Like, we've been training for this all year. I bounced back. I placed sixth in the 100 back, and then I placed fifth in the 200 back. And I was like, I was about to bawl. I was so surprised. I was so happy. There was a mixed emotions. I didn't believe in myself, and that's been an issue for me for a long time. So I kind of reaffirmed the freshmen. I calmed them down. I talked with some of them, and then they also after the first day started to lock in, and they started to swim really good. We have big guys like Leon and Hubi. They were doing their jobs. They were getting their hand on the walls, obviously on the top. I was doing my job. I just knew I had to make an A final every time I got in that pool. And I mean, it was the morning was close. The morning was real close. I mean, you saw me in that wall lane a lot. But I mean, that's the hardest part of NCAAs. I wouldn't even say it's finals. Like the most important part of NCAAs is the morning. You have to make it back and you have to swim fast because you can always move up at night, but all the points are scored in the prelims. So all of us were just doing our jobs. After every breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we had a meeting in our hotel with Herbie and Bob, and they kind of kept reaffirming us, telling us we've done the work, we got this. And we all just kind of kept swimming. And like you said, that pivotal point where we kind of knew we took the lead and secured the win. Well, first off, the coaches didn't want us to think that, first off. Like, I mean, Bob every day and Herbie every day were saying, like, it's close, it's going to be a nail biter, all this stuff. And it was. I mean, all the teams were doing great. It was a really great atmosphere. But it really did come down to I believe it was the morning of the last day where we started placing and all the backstrokes, and Ilya got his spot in the 2 fly. I don't really know exactly, but there was a lot of points scored on the last day where Cal.
I think it was like the back-to-back, like, was like Zalen in the mile, and then like the two. There was like back-to-back events where you guys won like 2 events in a row, or had like multiple guys in like the top 3, and that was like the deciding factor of, okay, it's too big of a lead now for another team to catch up.
Yeah, it was a great lead. I mean, it was really a good moment for us. Again, though, we had to come and step it up in the night because we wanted to finish strong. But yeah, after those morning swims, we kind of knew it was game, and we all kind of went in that night with a light heart and kind of swam our hearts out. I mean, me especially, I was so excited. I was so happy for what I knew we were going to accomplish, and I had probably my best race of the meet. Yeah, it was awesome. And then after we won, you know, we all kind of got all excited. We did got our shirts, got our hats, jumped in the water. That's always a great moment. It's like your body's so tired, you're in your tech suits, but you do not care about anything other than getting in that water and just smacking it like crazy. It's really fun. But yeah, and then after that, we headed to like a dinner, and that was pretty fun too. It was like a nice German restaurant. We got pretty spoiled at NC's, which was a really good.
You know, you talked about like the training group at ASU, and I remember like I think it was like August 2022, so it might have been like right around the start of your freshman year, when it seemed like every pro athlete in the country was moving to Arizona. It was like Simone Manuel, Chase Kalish, Jay Litherland, like Olivia Smoliga. I think Reagan Smith did at that time too. Like so many of the biggest names on the U.S. national team all moving to one spot. But I remember like talking with Herbie and with Austin earlier this year. They both emphasized to me how important it was to make sure everybody's needs were met, and how like much of a balance they strove to have with, yes, helping the pro athletes compete and train, but making sure that them being there could also be a learning experience and a positive experience for like the collegiate athletes, like the athletes who were still training with NCAA championships in mind.
Yeah, that was a big game changer, especially for me. I do not think I would be as fast as I am now without them. Arguably, I'd say like guys like Chase Kalish. Like the first day I came in, we're both Georgia boys, so like I kind of started chirping back and forth in practice. And I mean, I didn't realize how much he still had it. He's got to be one of the greatest trainers on the planet. He's up there with Leon. Like every practice. It's really impressive. But yeah, him and I kind of were together a lot. I kind of view him as like my older brother,
I
which is
forget
awesome.
sometimes that he's like 30 now. That like that's like at least for a 400 IM to be competitive on an elite level, to be competitive for a medal on an elite level in the 400 IM at age 30 is like insane.
Yeah, it is very impressive to say the least. I again, like, no offense to his age, but you're old, dude, really, really old, and I am astonished at what you're still doing. I mean, if I have any shot this year at making trials, I'm probably gonna have to get with him in that 2 IM. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, it was like a there were so many pros coming in. And I remember that was also before I came in, so I was super excited to train with some of them. I mean, I kind of knew Jay Litherland a little bit before coming to do ASU because of the Dynamo connections. Um, Reagan Smith, I can't say enough about her. She destroys me every practice. Like, I can be up there with her one or two, the backstrokes, long course, and then, Bob sets, it's like another 10 rounds of something. And I mean, she can go, I'd say she could get within 2 seconds of an American record, and then she can just hold that 10 times. And I mean, I'm out here sucking wind. She was a big part of me getting faster too, it's crazy to say, but it's true.
I remember watching her go 203 in the two fly and like breaking the American record, and I'm like, it kind of like just shocked. Like I did like a triple take reading the headline because I'm like, I think that was the fastest time by an American in like 15 years, 14 years.
Yeah, that
Like
was that time
nobody
at
had
Logan.
been under 205 since like 2009.
Yeah, that was at our pool, right? At that
Yeah.
meet. Yeah, that was very impressive. All of us were kind of just watching, like, this is going to be a really, really, really good time. And then she hit that last wall and had an amazing underwater, and we're like, this is going to be a record at some
Yeah. God, I would love to see that world record finally go down. The fact that
point.
no one has been 202 ever, and that the record went
That's
from
yeah,
203 to 201 is just stupid.
yeah. That it is stupid. Who holds that again?
Lu Zi, she's a Chinese swimmer, if my memory serves. It is a Chinese swimmer. I just don't remember if it's the right name that I'm thinking of. Which she backed up that swim. She won a medal in London 2012, and she was a world champion. So it wasn't like she had the super suits help her out and then was never able to do it again. But the super suit definitely is what made her go 201 because she never went like 203 again.
Fair enough. I mean, we're approaching a time now where I think people are going to start beating those like
Yeah.
crazy. They already pretty much are all broken, but um,
That men's
yeah,
800
that was
free world
that was an
record is scary. The 732 800 free world record.
Oh, I forgot about that. That
That
is scary.
one that one's going to last a couple of years longer, but I
Yeah,
hope someone gets it.
yeah.
So, talk to me about NCAA's for you this year on a personal competition level. Like for your races, what do you think went well, and what do you think like could have been executed better?
Well, I think I did. Um, I've shocked myself with two NCs now. I went into Pac-12s like I think it's a 2 week, 2.5 weeks before, 3 weeks before. So it's not like we come back from Pac-12s and we like increase the yards much. It's maybe just 1 week and we don't even do that much. But I did so good at Pac-12s the past 2 years. I was like, if I just kind of get around those times at NCs, I know I'll place decently well. And I just need to kind of focus on what to do. So this year at NCs, what I was thinking, I was saying, hey, I did it at PAX. I just need to watch my race videos. I need to see what I can prove on, what walls I can hit harder, and just generally how it felt. Um, and so the first day of NCs was the 2 IM, which I was the most nervous for because I failed so badly at that last year. Funny thing is, I gained over 2 seconds again, just like I did last. Luckily, my best time is fast enough now to where that barely got me back to a final. So I got a little shaken there, but I did it. I was also completely mental in that morning. I was thinking like of all these technical things and aspects to do, and I was coming up to Bob and I was asking him how my races should go, and he knows that I get in my head a lot. Like when he says something, like do this or take it out, I usually end up not doing that. So usually he doesn't talk to me as much. He kind of knows that I've been training well and what to do. So in that 2 IM, the first 50, I only took one breath, and I knew I messed up. I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna have enough oxygen. So I started tightening up towards the free. And I actually ended pretty well. So that was good. Brought that in to the finals, thought of everything that I could do better. Nailed my breaths this time at night, nailed the walls, nailed the turns. And I mean, I have probably one of the worst breaststrokes in the NC2A. Hubie and I talk about this all the time, especially after the comment he made at tier. I was laughing it off. I'm like, I'm right there with you, man. But I did surprisingly shock myself on the breaststroke split. I took it out 21.0, I think, in the 50 fly, and Hubie was around 20.5. I knew he'd take it out. I just kind of have to match him in the back. And Destin's kind of, he does his own thing the first 100. If I were to take it out with him, I would not be able to come home as strong. So I kind of just won my race with Hubie because I train with him all the time. So the backstroke just focused on kind of spinning, getting my legs into it, and just I'm a backstroker, so just I got to go hard on that. Breaststroke, turn, did my pullouts. I think I do 5 strokes, 6 strokes. Kind of ramped up the tempo, focused on breathing my head high and looking straight. Throwing my head forward. Again, I don't even know the breaststroke technical terms. I suck at it so much. Like I don't even. I don't hips forward. And then I don't know. When I touched the wall, I didn't really, because I was in lane 1. I kind of like took a quick glance to my right, and I saw one person, who I assumed was Hubie. So I was like, oh my God, I have a shot like at winning this. So I kind of just I've been working on my underwaters a lot this year. Underwatered like 5 or 6 kicks, put my head down, and kind of just swung. I mean, at the end of a race like that, it's really hard to keep technical. And I think that's a good thing that I was doing at ASU, is just being able to finish these races strong. So put my head down, kind of cranked it out, and it felt really good. And I saw that second place, and I was super stoked to see that. I never hit celebrations, and I did like a little like, let's go. And then I was done. And I'll get to that next, the 100 back. Oh my God, with Brendan, that was crazy.
He was on a few weeks ago. His interview's coming out next week, actually.
That's funny. Yeah, he had a great celebration. But yes, 2 IM went how I wanted to. Ended off 0.1 off my best time, so I was really happy with that. That I got from PAX. Next day, 100 back. I was really stoked off that second place win. Swam the morning. Just I knew the 100 back was going to be a lot more competitive this year, so there's nothing to do in the 100 back. You've done your training, you've done your work, you've done your sprint, you crank those underwaters, you make it to 15 every wall, and I mean, you just fly. That was my mentality. Almost got DQ'd. Came up nose right on 15. Hit the turn, everything went well. Touched the wall in 44.2. Again, I was like, am I seeing this right? I had to like wipe my goggles and look. And then never felt like that before. Got out, could barely walk. I was like, oh, I'm a 2 backstroker. Like, this should be easy. I go over, and I mean, TMI, I immediately vomit, like all in the trash.
You left it all in the pool.
Oh yeah, it was really like, I've never felt that way before. I was kind of scared. I was like, oh, this is not a good sign. But then my buddy, Jack Dolan, he is amazing too. He has the issue that I had too. He usually after his sprint races, he comes over and hogs a trash can, but I was already there, and we kind of pat each other on the back. Um, After that, we warmed down. I went back to the hotel. I kind of got into the zone, started stretching some. Came back for finals in the 100 back. I was really excited because I didn't put too much pressure on myself in the 100 back because that's not usually my greatest race. But I mean, there was a lot of technical things that I did mess up at night. I gained 0.2 from the morning, ended up getting sixth, just like last year. But it's funny, I got the same position that I placed last year, except I was a full half second faster in the 100, which is a lot nowadays.
Yeah.
And I hit the wall. I was lane 2, I believe, or 7. I hit the wall and I go over to I literally, like, you can see this on the race video. I go over to turn to Brendan to shake his hand, and there is no Brendan. And then also in the review race videos, you can see I look under to make sure he's not like actually at the bottom of the pool. But I hear everyone screaming, and I look up, and then I just see him like on the block or something, just doing like the IU. And I shook my head. I'm like, oh my god, how does anyone have the energy to celebrate so hard after a race? Like, that could not be me. I have to go everything, but who knows? Maybe one day if I break an NCAA record or something, you'll see me.
He told me how rough his morning swim was. Then like that he was grateful that he like even just qualified. Like it was really like he had a really rough morning swim and ended up qualifying. He was in lane 1, yeah. Qualified in 7th and then was just psyched to win the whole thing. But it was such a funny, like, I couldn't help but laugh seeing his reaction.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I mean, 2 A finals the next day, back to back to fly. I mean, that's super impressive.
And qualifying by 100th in the 2 fly for the A final, like,
yeah, he did it. He got the points. Sure. But yeah, I mean, he's a great dude. I just met him like a couple of weeks ago, so that's awesome.
No, he's a lot of fun to talk to. He's had a pretty like storied collegiate career himself.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry. 2 back. Sorry, I'm taking a lot of time. So
No, you're good. No worries. I got time.
The 2 back. Again, like I said, I knew my job was just to make the A final, and 2 back's the race that I'm the most confident in because I trained for it so much. So we dove in for the morning swim, and me and Aiden Stoffel were together. We've been friends for a while, since like last year as well, last NCAAs. He's a Georgia boy as well. We got iced off the start. We got held for quite a bit. It wasn't terrible, but he kept having his toes over the ledge, and I don't know if he's going to watch this, but you're the reason. I looked over, like I was in the start position, I looked over, and this dude's toes were like all the way out of the water. So I honestly, like, I took a gamble there. I kind of like relaxed because I knew they were going to call it. It was like way out, so they called toes. We kind of got ready and relaxed again, and then I think they called it a second time, but it wasn't on Aiden that time. I could be wrong though. My head's a little messed up in that field, but we started. I did my usual kicks. I always do 9 kicks off the start, 8 kicks on every other wall. And then usually if I'm feeling really good, the last 25, I do 9 kicks on the last 25 underwater. We got in. I took it out really smooth, too smooth. I took it out probably a second slower than I did when I went 139. So I was like, I couldn't really tell where I was, but I knew that some of the guys were a little too close for comfort. So I kind of had to crank it in that second 100. So I got a little nervous, and on my last wall, I had to do like 10 kicks, which I did not like at all. But again, we got to the wall. We got 7th, so it was really close again with a 138.5, which is, again, a full second 0.2 faster than last year. So inflation is going crazy. So I was happy to make it back in that final. Well, I had to make it back to that final. And again, that was the pivotal point. we knew Zalan was more than likely going to win that mile. Like Daniel was putting his hand on the wall, like what 14:44 in the mile. And then yeah, I just went home, peace of mind. Came back ready to swim, excited. And I kind of just told myself, I'm like, this is the last race. Anyone who's everyone on the last day, last race is just going to give it all they have, because you got nothing after, and you got a break, like all this nice stuff. So, and you could tell in the ready room, well, kind of the ready room, like the little curtain behind the blocks. We were all getting ready, and Hubie was all excited. Destin was all excited because we knew they were about to go crazy. And I was just like, all right, I'll see what I can do. I'm going to try to take it out a lot faster than this morning. You can't really base yourself off other people on the backstroke. It's really hard to tell. You kind of just got to swim your own race. I believe I took it out like 47 or something like that, 48. And I felt it was the smoothest 47, 40 in my life. Felt a little choppy, but I couldn't go back. So I kind of just continued on that choppiness and just ramped it up more, the tempo. Hit my underwater kicks. And the last 50, I was feeling really good, and I just decided to go after it. And I think I gained a few places and pulled away from Johnny Marshall. Again, I couldn't see that, but based off the race video, I kind of did that. And then last wall, again, cranked those 9 underwater kicks, the best kicks I think I've ever had in my swim career. And when I touched the wall, I was expecting like 7 mid. And when I saw a 6.6, I was, again, truly shocked. I was like, oh my God, like I'm less than a second from what Ryan Murphy's NCAA record was. At that moment, I mean, I was happy for my time. Hubie and Destin were going after it, doing their own thing. So I was happy for them, obviously. Destin got that crazy NCAA record, but
he's a beast in the pool. It's kind of scary.
It is. He swims it so beautifully. But yeah, when I got out of the water, I kind of had like this lightness to me. Like I felt good. I was like, man, that was the first like kind of dose of confidence that I've gotten, where I'm like, next year and the year after could be a year where I can get an NCAA record. I mean, my goal time now, like coming into college, like my goal time in the 2-back was like 1:38. I was going to be happy with that. After this year, my ultimate goal, if I could be one of the first people to break 1:35, that would be awesome. And I mean, for how that felt, and if I keep improving, I think it's doable. But it'll be really, really, really hard.
I would love to see a 1:34 200 backstroke. Like, the swim nerd in me gets so excited at the idea of that. And
Yeah.
I definitely think we're headed towards that happening. Like, Ryan Murphy's record has been on the books for so long.
Mhm.
And I think it's going to be one of those cases where once one person has broken it, it just opens the floodgates, and it's just going to go way down.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's always the case. That's what swimflation is. It's just like
Yeah.
you after Leon came to the NCAAs and Thomas Heilman was dropping all these times. Like I swear, they're like Luka Mijatovic. Like
Oh my God, I lifeguarded at the pool that he swam at, or that he swims at. He's so fast.
I don't like it's soon. There's literally going to be 14-year-olds going 1:34 2-back.
Yeah.
Like so I just got to bask in this glory while I can, because I'm going to be looking back and pardon my French, how the hell did everyone like, get so much faster? Like it's.
I remember like this year in like the 50 free, I think like 18 high didn't even make the A final. Like 19, like one of my friends went 19-3 or 19-2 and didn't qualify for NCAAs. Like he was right outside the cutoff.
That's
And I'm
fine.
like, I made like a video after the men's 50 free final being like, 18-7 got like 6th in the final.
Yeah.
18-7 10 years ago would have won the whole thing outright and would have gotten you on the podium, on like the top 3 podium, in pretty much every other year. It
Yeah,
was like ridiculous.
that was similar with the 2IM. I was looking back at those stats too, and I was like, wow, it's gone a lot faster.
I mean, I remember when like David Nolan was the only guy who'd ever gone under 140 in the 200 IM,
Yeah,
and now it's like 5 people in the A final will do it.
yeah.
So, talk to me about the transfer to Indiana, and well, now that you're transferring, compare like your emotions coming into your first season at ASU compared to now that like your time there is done.
Well, I just want to say it's hard to beat what I had at ASU, and I'm not gonna ever speak poorly of ASU, because I do love that team, and I'm also sure that I'm going to love Indiana. The biggest thing for me, I mean, everyone reads Swim Swam comments and things. People were shocked, and I don't really see why people were that shocked. I do understand. Bob was a huge part in making me the swimmer that I am today. Um, and everything that went down, it wasn't. It's. I believe it's blown out of proportion in Swim Swam. Obviously,
I
it's a
agree.
blow.
Sorry,
It's a
go
blow to
ahead.
but I mean, everyone needs to look out for themselves, and that's what I was doing with Indiana. I told Herbie after Bob left that I was going into the portal, and that was all fine. Herbie was great about it. Everyone kind of knows like what's going on. Um, the main reasons I made the switch to Indiana were because first off, Leon was leaving. Hoobie was, I mean, we kind of knew Hoobie was going to follow Bob to Texas. The pros were leaving, and all those aspects that I said about the pro team and this being the greatest training environment in the world was true. And I could have got that again by going to Texas. However, there are a lot of draws to Indiana too, aka my brother Cooper. It's like as much of the success that I had at ASU when he was in the recruiting process for ASU, I was livid that we didn't get him. I was so sad because I thought it was like 100% lock. Our recruiting trip with him, like all the guys at ASU loved Cooper, do love Cooper still. But it was a little lackluster because we thought for sure he was going to come to ASU. And when he decided to go to Indiana, like I was crushed. I was like, oh my God, I missed the opportunity to swim with my brother and possibly win an NCAA championship. Like all this stuff was going through my mind. I cried about it once or twice. I was like, what could I do? But I mean, that's in the past. This opportunity presented me to actually go to Indiana with my brother, which was a huge thing. Um, and when I went on my official to Indiana, I sat down with Ray, Corey, John, all the coaches, and they really made me like feel welcome. All the guys were awesome. I felt part of the team immediately. But the biggest part was Ray and Corey actually laid out a plan for me on paper. They said, "These are the groups you're going to be in. This is what you're going to do." And again, I wouldn't compare Bob and Ray like because they all have their different styles of
Yeah.
coaching. Um, but Ray's style is fairly similar to Bob, and again, that's something that I was comfortable with at ASU and that I wanted to continue. So that was a big reason. The facility is very nice at Indiana. Obviously, I'm going to lose my tan, unfortunately. That's the saddest part of leaving, but the campus is beautiful. I mean, I never got to go on official visits, so I never got to see other schools because of COVID and stuff. And yeah, just the limestone there is beautiful. Everything is there. It's beautiful. I don't know. There was a lot of draws to Indiana from ASU or from a Texas, but I'd say everything went down fairly smooth. And I mean, I don't think there's many hard feelings anywhere. I left ASU on good terms. Um, Unfortunately, I couldn't train, but that was to be expected. I just wanted to be fully transparent with the coaches. Um, but yeah, so it's gonna be hard for upcoming trials because I haven't been training too much right now. But hopefully, I can just really focus in and kind of swoop in to some meet.
I like swim comment sections are like, with respect to the people who comment there, are like the zoo.
It's awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I've commented a few times. It's
It's,
fun to just.
I mean, it's fun when people say it, but at the same time, like, people will have their own like thoughts and their own ideas without the full picture.
Mm-hmm.
And like, to be honest, when people were like, "Well, why does he want to go there just to swim with his brother?" I'm like, I'd go to a college just to swim with my brother.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and it's not. I think they're also talking like Indiana's like in the middle of nowhere, in like, and has no proven track record of success.
Oh,
It's
no,
like, it's not like Indiana has produced like numerous Olympians in the past like 20 years.
no. I mean, again, they do get a little bit of a bad
Yeah.
rap section. And again, that doesn't concern me at all. None of that stuff has really concerned me. I've been an honorable mention. I've been a dark horse. I've been under the radar like my entire life, and I do think that's come to my benefit. Because it helps you kind of focus more on the sport that you love than the comments on swim or the NILs and things. I mean, I'm obviously that I want some NIL. It's kind of hard in the swim world to do that, but I feel like we're kind of improving on that. What was I going to say? Oh, but another big part that you did mention that I wanted to say, the I believe I've gotten to the point where I've proven myself short course and I've been happy with my times. I have yet to do anything long course. Like, I mean, my best times are, I wouldn't even say probably top 300. And Indiana, as great as they are, NCAA, and again, they're awesome. They also have a really, really good, if not better, track record internationally in long course. And I really need that soon because I feel like I can take these times from short course and I can really do something long course. And I mean, that's always been a dream of mine. It's every guy's dream to go to the
Yeah.
Olympics. So it's a little unfortunate all this is happening right now on an Olympic year, but I'm not going to let that hold me down. I'm going to keep trying to get to those meets and stuff.
I like, there was the last thing about those comment section. There was one comment that somebody left that was like, "Oh, that's a good point." Of, you guys are gonna have like a mean medley relay next year. Like, there's potential there for a really, really good medley relay. And like,
Yeah.
that was one comment where I was like, "Oh, you make a good point."
There it is. I mean, I've been kind of looking at the stats and it's like, I mean, you can't count Indiana out for an NCAA championship
Oh,
this year.
definitely not. Yeah.
Definitely the next year to come with Luke Ellis and all those amazing recruits coming in. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot more of a battle this year. Like, again, congratulations to all the team at NCs and stuff. It was a battle, obviously, to win, but the points discrepancy wasn't like a nail biting like 10, 5, 4 points at the end. It is going to come down to that next year. And it's going to be a lot more fun in terms of points and teams to watch. Cal, Texas, Indiana, Florida, NC State, like all these teams, it's going to be really close. And it will come down probably to a relay. And as much as I wouldn't like that to happen, I'd like to just win flat out. It really is something else. Like, it's exciting in the stands. People are literally biting their nails. It's fun.
It's like, meets like that are so much fun because I feel like it brings out the best in every competitor when the meet is that close. Like, I remember coming into NCAA's this year, everywhere that I read something about the meet, everybody was like, "Okay, ASU's gonna win by like 400 points." I'm exaggerating a little bit, but
Mm.
while I'm exceptionally glad that ASU did win, because I think it's both a win for swimming as a whole and just awesome seeing a team that 10 years ago nobody would have thought would win an NCAA title win something of that caliber. It was really fun seeing like Florida, Cal, Texas, NC State, and yet seeing all those teams step up and make it such a challenging battle. because I feel
Mhm.
like that probably brought out the best of the ASU team, probably brought out the best of every other team that was competing there.
Yeah, yeah, it was a great environment.
And you talked about like the being put down as like a dark horse or like honorable mention, and there was a swimmer at Virginia, and I'm blanking on her name, but I think both of you guys filled out similar roles for your respective teams, where she had never won like an NCAA title, at least not yet, but she hadn't won an NCAA title like or anything like that, but she was consistently in the A final, consistently in the upper part of the A final, scoring points. And I
Hmm.
think people sort of discount how important a swimmer of that caliber is. Of like, yes, if you have first place, yeah, that's awesome. But you need those people who are second, third, fourth, fifth, who can also challenge for that first place spot.
Yeah, and I mean that's what's great too, because it's like as much as um, every athlete wants to be in the spotlight and be the greatest, you can really get the most done or the most work done, kind of being under the shadow. I guess I mean, um, no shame to Hubie or Leon, but I mean Leon's the greatest in the world. Hubie's a world champ. Obviously, they're going to get the PR and the attention, which I understand. But if I can just kind of squeeze in there and keep getting points for the team, like it wasn't Leon and Hubie that won the NCAA championship. Of course, they are like the great fact. If we didn't have them, yes, we wouldn't have won. However, it's the people like David Schlitt, Daniel Madison, Zalan, like all these guys that needed to. Kale Martyr, I gotta shout out my boy Kale Martyr. He stepped up to the freshman Philip. I wish I could just list all the names. Like I love all those guys. But everyone did their jobs how they were supposed to, and it did rack up the points to
Yeah.
win. So, and it was our first full team in his like we went 2 years ago at 2022 or yeah 2022 NCAAs. We had I think it was 8 people, and we got sixth, which was really cool. And I went to that meet and watched that from Dynamo at Georgia Tech. And then 2023, we had, I think it was 14, and we were really excited. We're like, guys, we might be able to get a full team next year. Sure enough, we did. It was really cool.
I think like a lot of people discount the importance of having not just your big team stars, but like the people who will get you those points. Like that, I swam with a guy a few years ago. Swam with a guy a few years ago who like said in passing of like, oh, why do we even need like people who get anything below like third place? And about a few weeks later, had an opportunity to be like, that's why we need people who get fourth, fifth, because our women's team at our conference champs had 8 people competing,
Hmm.
and they got second place, beating a team of 18 swimmers by about like 5.5 points. And it was those swimmers who snuck into the A final who got seventh or eighth, or who like moved up from their seat time. Like that was the reason why they got second. I mean, the first place team had like 20 swimmers and got first by like 400 points, but it's okay.
It's okay, it happens
Yeah.
sometimes.
No, like they were going to win the meet regardless, but it was a moment where I walked up to him and I'm like, that's why we need those swimmers who score
Yeah.
those points. So talk to me about your time at Dynamo Swim Club and how you feel like, because Dynamo Swim Club is, at least in my opinion, like a pretty awesome place to swim. Like they've had a pretty storied history. Talk to me about how that time prepared you for collegiate swimming.
It was a good time. It was really hard, I'd say, because I actually started swimming in Utah. I grew up in Utah for 13 years of my life, actually. Started swimming there at like 11 or 10 or 11. Really enjoyed it. But moving to Georgia was a big step because, again, I love Utah. I love all the guys there, but not the fastest swim state. And I was kind of top in a lot of things. and I immediately came to Georgia, and I wasn't even like 200th and some things. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be crazy. Started training at Dynamo, high yards, high intensity, everything that got me prepared for ASU. My coaches, I had Coach Brian, Brian Wrighton, uh, Nick Graves, Nancy. Like there's a lot of people that I can name. Ian, but again, I don't really know how to describe it. It was like we have a saying like the Dynamo family, just like Sun Devil family. It is a family. Like Dynamo has arguably one of the biggest alumni base, bigger than like collegiate history, because there are so many swimmers at Dynamo. So it was great to see a lot of alumni swimmers, kids too. But anyway, I just like I've done at ASU, I started improving every year at Dynamo. Got a little faster, a little bit by bit, moving up. I'm sure everyone remembers like the senior three, senior two, senior one groups. Finally made my way up to senior one. Started getting some good times. Again, I wasn't the greatest, but the yardage was really there. We did a lot of IM. We did a lot of like, I mean, I'm back at Dynamo right now, and we just did a set that destroyed me. And there were probably like 14-year-olds beating me because I'm just not used to those kind of sets anymore. But then COVID hit, and that was pretty hard on most teams and most things. But that's actually where I shined. That's finally where I took my first step into becoming a great swimmer. I was lucky enough to have a pool in my backyard, and I swam tethered for like an hour and a half a day. I gained, I mean, I have my driver's license right now. Before, like during COVID, I started at 5'10", 125 pounds at 16, 17. So I was really small, and I got upwards of, got to 6'2", 165 pounds, 170 pounds. So I got big during that time. Started lifting some weights, started getting stronger. And immediately when the COVID stuff was lifted, I jumped back in the pool so much further ahead of some people that unfortunately didn't have access to the stuff that I did. And that was a really big gap. I was in COVID like 150th in the class in Georgia, immediately boosted to first or second in the state. And then that's where I started getting my times. I got bigger. The training stayed the same. We went right back into it. I mean, it was hard those first month or two, getting back into the yards and the aerobic stuff. And then eventually I just started having meets. I started dropping a couple of, oh man, it's been a long time. iCloud or Power Index. I started scoring some ones on the Power Index. And then eventually when I was a senior, I finally got to a 1.0 Power Index, which was like a goal for me because it's a cool thing to see kind of by your name. And then during that time, I was getting recruited by ASU, Indiana. And then I kind of just took the job at ASU. But it was thanks to my coach, Brian. I was going to be offered a little bit of a scholarship at ASU, but he really helped me out by sending videos every day to the coaches, how I swam, how I lifted weights. And it really helped schools kind of want me more because they saw that I was still relatively small. I had great technique. Like there was a lot they could do to work with me to become faster. So Dynamo got me extremely prepared for collegiate swimming.
I've always seen it as like the mark of a great coach when they can recognize like that potential in someone.
Mm-hmm.
Like I swam with a guy who had swam summer league his whole life. Never, because I swam for a junior college. He swam summer league his whole life. Did water polo in like during the year. Comes into college and my coach puts him in the 500.
Mm-hmm.
So a guy who's done 50s and 100 freestyles and water polo, putting him in one of the longer races on the program. And first meet of the season, he goes 5:05. Never swam the event before. By the time he'd finished his collegiate career, like, because junior colleges just get 2 years in California, so a year later, he'd gone like under 440.
Oh, that's impressive.
It
That's very
was
impressive.
crazy. Like, and he went like 17 something in the mile. Like, I would never swam stuff like this before. So it's
Yeah.
always the mark for me of a good coach who can see that talent and like create something from it and like bring that person up. So my last couple of questions here for you are just some fun short questions that fit very well into Instagram Reels.
Fair enough.
So this one might be a very easy answer. If you had to
Mhm.
pick only one event that you could swim for the rest of your swim career, both short course and long course, what would it be?
Who I am, 100%.
I had a
That's
feeling it was going to be 2 IM or 2 back.
it's. I love the IMs. I love switching up the strokes. I love the race environment of it. I mean, everyone's better at different strokes than others,
Yeah.
and it really does show you like what a race is like. I mean, you could be way ahead flying back, and then kind of drop back towards the breaststroke far. Um, really got to grind and race for that last 50. I love that race. It's quick. It's not too exhausting. I mean, I used to be a 4IMer. Never again. Hopefully, I'm good
I
at it.
I unfortunately realized I was a 400 IMer when I did the 2 IM long course and realized that I was like, I told my coach afterwards, I'm like, I was too short.
Ugh, what?
I was like, and then I said it, and I'm like, oh, now I'm gonna swim the 400 IM.
Oh, kind of dug your grave on that one.
It's okay. So, my last question for you, and this is the swim nerd in me loves talking about stuff like this. What are some of your favorite swim sets you've done, both at ASU and at Dynamo?
Well, okay. I'll start with Dynamo. Dynamo. I wouldn't say that I don't think I have a favorite. Well, I can just say this off the rip. My favorite set of all time is Hackett or Chuck Norris. A lot of teams call it different things. It's the typical 1650s, 1250s, 850s, 450s.
That's a
You can
good
go fast.
one.
Recovery. It's a great way to see your your top speed. Worst sets of all time obviously are imprinted in every swimmer's mind. Um, I have a few for ASU. I'll say Dynamo first. Dynamo, we over the summer, it was either the summer or something, but every Wednesday we suited up, and we did 100 off the block, and then right into, or no, we gained a 50 each week. So it was 6 rounds of a 50 of a stroke, and then the next week it was 6 rounds of 100 of a stroke, and then the next week it was 6 rounds of 150 of a stroke. Then last week it was a 200 of a stroke, and I unfortunately was an IMer, so I had to do fly back breast. I had to split up and like stuff like that. Um, and yes, I did have to do fly. Like it was really two 200s fly off the block. I think it's like you get 3 minutes rest in between everyone, so it was not a lot of rest. So that was probably the hardest I've ever like
That sounds
felt.
oh my god.
No, it was. I mean, again, like you have harder sets in college, but not really. You gotta know that when you go to college, you're gonna get stronger. Your muscles are gonna develop more, so you can't necessarily do the aerobic stuff like that, because or else you'd probably die. Like you'd have guys like me that would do one or two, and then like my body can physically not do more. Where when I was a kid back at Dynamo, you just go 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 go. Um, that ASU. Okay, here we go. ASU. We do an IM ladder. There was an IM ladder, and it's arguably not one of our worst practices, but I find it extremely hard. It's 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 700, 600, 500, 400, 300, 200, 100.
Oh.
And it's man, it might take me a little bit to remember this. It's free, frim, free, frim, free, frim, free, frim, all the way up to the 800. And then the 800 is, I think the 800 is frim, I could be wrong, but once we reach the 800, so that's all like kind of build up to the 800, and then the 800 you start to get fast. The 800 isn't the fastest. You start to get fast. So you kind of hurt, and then you go down to the 700 free, or yeah, no. Okay, so it's weird. With the 700s are actually the IM, but on the back the descending half of the ladder, it's IM. You do the butterfly and everything. And then 600 free, 500 IM, 400 free, 300 IM. It was broken up weird, but it was really, really, really hard. And then I actually just saw Kyle Stockwell's post today, and
I saw that one.
Brought back some memories too. I've done that set 3 times, I believe. Or no, twice. Once each year. That was a good one. And then lastly, I don't remember this set, but I remember what it's called, and I'm gonna put this on me now. It was called the Grant House set, because again, Grant, I love you if you're watching this, but apparently I didn't see it. You did not do too hot during this set. It's a fly set where you do hundreds fly, 50 free, 100 fly, like lots of fly. And I was doing good all the way up, and it was probably 4K of fly pretty much. And then at the end, you do a 300 fly for time. And I just remember Leon lapped me. This is just a 300 fly, and I got lapped. Leon lapped me, Hoobie lapped me, Chase lapped me, Jay lapped me, Reagan lapped me, all this stuff. I ended up touching the wall in a 300 fly at 412, I think. I mean, like, it was the typical, like, people make fun of it, like the dolphin dive and like the bent arms. It really was that, and it was probably the hardest thing I've had to do at the end of a practice. So that's it. That's it for me.
I think I don't know if it's the hardest set, but it's the most memorable set I did. My coach swam for UC Santa Barbara back when he actually overlapped a few years with Jason Lezak. Way back in like the early 2000s. And I don't remember the order of things, but it was a set that involved doing every single event, including 50s a stroke and the 100 IM.
Ooh.
So I think it started out with like a 1700 freestyle, which was the 1650 and then a 50 freestyle in the end. Okay. And then it was like two 400 IMs, one for the individual 400 IM and one for every 100.
This isn't within the 17. This is after?
Yeah, this is after.
Oh. Okay.
And then like two 200 IMs, one for the 200 IM and one for like 50s of stroke. And then I think it was 5 100s of like 100 IM. No, it was just 100 of 100 IM and then a 500 freestyle. And then, I'm forgetting about the 200. The 200s of stuff is in there somewhere. But it ended off with a 500 freestyle. And I remember like weirdly feeling good by the end of it. Because I'm one of those like stupid people who needs like 2,000 yards to warm up.
Yeah, I mean, I need that too, to be honest.
Like my lifetime best of my 50 free came when I did a mile, hopped out, and let off for a 200 free relay in the next heat.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's something.
It's like everybody was dying, and I was like, I'm having the greatest time. I've hit my aerobic capacity. We're chilling. But I mean, it was hard, but it was like I have very like fun memories of that set.
That's good. I would not have.
I say fun, and if I got asked to do it again, I would say hell no.
Yeah, that's fair. That's like all the set that I've ever done.
Oh, and thank you so much for sitting there. Go ahead, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me. At the end of these interviews, I always give time for the person I'm talking to talk about something of their choice or hype up something of their choice. I definitely didn't steal this bit from Hot Ones. I would never do that. But the floor is yours to talk about whatever you want.
Well, I don't know. I would just say one thing. I've always kind of had this motto, I guess. it's not really big, but it's always stuck with me. And it's just if you keep improving bit by bit, no matter how much it is, if it's point one or something, and you keep working at a level, you will reach a goal that you have. It's possible because I mean, if you're dropping time consistently, and you don't have to, just as long as you're putting in the effort and you see those little time drops, you'll eventually reach where you want to be. It's just like anything. Like if you have a money goal, if you keep chipping away at it, you'll eventually reach it. Because I don't want to just say you can achieve your dreams, because that's what everyone says, and it's just something that you you have to actually work for it. And I believe that if you just have the mindset of improving every time, you will eventually reach where you want to be. So that's it. That's my outro.
I like it reminds me of a conversation I had with my girlfriend like last week. And
Mhm.
Bella, I love you so much. If you're watching this, don't get mad at me. Um, she was talking about how like I don't remember exactly what she said, but it was something along the lines of like like sometimes you just can't reach those goals, or sometimes you can't beat those people in a race. Like why even try? And I'm like, okay, but if Joseph Schooling had had that mindset, would he have beaten Michael Phelps in the 100 fly? If Ariarne Titmus had that mindset, would she have beaten Katie Ledecky and broken the world record? Like, I think it's so much more fun and so much more positive to have that mindset of like, if I just keep working, you never know what will happen.
Yeah,
It's so much more fun to have that mindset because it opens the door to so many possibilities.
yeah. I mean, it's helped me in life, and I think it can help a lot of people in life. And again, if you don't ever hit it, it's it's whatever. It's like you have to find something you love outside of swimming. I've already found what I want to be outside of swimming, and everyone needs to find something. So, um, just
For
go
for
out, be
me,
the
I'm
best.
slowly making a career out of being a giant swim nerd.
That's fine. I mean, I want to. My dad's a pilot. I actually want to go to the military after school. So I'm getting my degree, and hopefully I can swim pro for a bit. Maybe 2028. We'll see. After that, I'll be flying some pretty expensive jets. Hopefully, that'd be awesome.
Oh, and thank you so much for sitting down with me. I will hopefully see you at Olympic trials this summer. My media application got approved like 2 days ago. So I'll hopefully be seeing you at Olympic trials this summer. So I'll make sure to come by and say hi.
Awesome. I would love that.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me. You have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Ahmad. You too.